Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming on a sugar high, I hope. Okay, so we'll have some fun now. My name's Scot Mckee. I'm the Managing Director of Birddog. I'm a columnist for B2B Marketing Magazine, and I'm the author of a couple of books in the B2B marketing space. So that's why I'm here. Today I'm going to be talking to you about B2B content recycling, following the old adage where there's muck, there's brass. The work that we do is across brand, digital, social and content services. So just for clarity, today we are sticking closely to content marketing. I thought we'd start by giving you some context for this, having a look at the landscape that we find ourselves operating in now. And the C word, content. Your marketing day, as you go about your business, your marketing day looks a bit like this. It's kind of busy. It's changed quite a lot in the last few years, and it's causing some problems being able to manage all these newfangled social media digitally type things that no one really knows what to do with. So we need to try and sort that out, because alongside the usual stuff that's still there, hasn't gone away, you now have to deal with the slightly unusual stuff. Okay, you're responsible for that as well. And it's not stopping. The digital rise is not stopping. The workload continues to increase with every release of every new platform. This is a chart for Pinterest, just to show you in the States the number of users over a very short space of time. Yeah, from May 2011 to January 2012, 12 million users of Pinterest. So that's how fast the market's changing, and you're having to provide content to keep up with that. So the marketing resource then that you have within your businesses has changed from this, that's you there, into something like this. It's still you having to deal with all of this. And it creates a bit of tension on a Monday morning. It really needs to look more like this to accommodate a content marketing strategy. But you're on your own. You're going to have to deal with that. Okay? So not untypically, you go and ask for some help, some support, some external resource, and you'll go and have a word with Roger and Dan, and the madmen will dream up some new shiny things for you to be able to play with. And we're easily distracted by new shiny things. Squirrel from the Up movie. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of stuff going on that you have to be responsible for, and you have to be part of, probably, possibly, more than likely, eventually. You have to deal with these things. But every time the new shiny thing gets unveiled, someone uses the C word. Okay, and everything goes quiet. Where's the content going to come from? See, it's still quiet, right? Because you don't have any, or you don't have very much, or you don't know where it's going to come from or how you're going to distribute it. So the typical problems that we're helping clients with are that they have no resource, no time, no money, no content. Oops, it is a problem. The resource, time and money bit can be shared internally and externally. It can be rescheduled, it can be negotiated one way or another, but the content still remains the primary obstacle, because you can't play on this playing field unless you have something to say, unless you have that content. And so the content creation journey begins. And it starts innocently enough. Blogging, Twitter feeds, YouTube videos, Facebook pages, a blog, a tweet, a video, a poke. Probably not a poke in B2B, probably not. But it can only end in tears because it keeps growing. The channels, the platforms keep growing, they get bigger and bigger, and therefore the content requirement to fuel all that also gets bigger. If you're any good at it, it's even worse because everyone wants some of it. The demands on you to provide more content of a certain type or multiple types gets greater. And so you've created this monster and now you have to feed it. So the madmen told you that the content would be user-generated. You know, that was popular a while ago. Well, they completely lied about that. The users don't really care, actually, unless you have content, which you don't. It's a problem, right? So either everything else on your to-do list has to stop and the content creation takes over the entire marketing function, whether it's video or writing or analysis or infographics. Whatever it is, it starts to take over so that you can fuel the fire. Or you just have to make do with whatever you've got. In B2B, whatever you've got is usually a white paper. Ooh. You can download a white paper from our website, you can register for a white paper, tweet about our white paper, join our LinkedIn white paper group. It's all very white papery. Yeah? It's kind of limited in terms of content. So there's a problem with that. And the problem is that the platforms that we're now operating on, and more importantly, the platforms that your customers have decided to use, aren't suited to 5,000 word white paper downloads when maybe you've only got 140 characters to work with. The audiences are fragmented across multiple channels. Few of them have time to read your white paper anymore, and no one really gives a shit about your white paper. Okay? So the content you have is less relevant. The creation of new content is time-consuming and costly, and the customers are only increasing their demands on what you can provide them with. So in the words of The Sopranos, what are you going to do? And increasingly, what you're going to do is get into waste management, recycling. Henry Ford actually created the entire United States charcoal industry out of the offcuts of wood that were being made in the manufacturing plant of the Model T Ford. He hated waste so much that he created a new business out of it. It became, and still is, one of the premium charcoal brands in America. It was originally called Ford Charcoal Briquettes. It's now the Kingsford Charcoal Company. Okay? So the idea of recycling what you have isn't a bad idea. It's a good idea. It can be a profitable idea. And that's what I want you to focus on from my presentation today. So recycling to create value applies as much to content as it does to Henry Ford or Tony Soprano. It's fast, it's cheap, it's flexible, adaptable, minimum effort, maximum return, and it allows you to get on with the other things on your to-do list. But most importantly, content recycling provides the customers with the type of content they want in the place they want to consume it, as opposed to you forcing them to read your 5,000 word white paper. So the things you need to consider are that there are only 2 points of content origin. Created or commissioned content, that's yours, that's the stuff you produce and originate, or obtained content, which is provided by or produced by someone else, using, recycling someone else's content. And in both those cases, you only need to ask 3 questions. How else can I use this content? Where else can I use this content? Who else would be interested in this content? And the word that I kept repeating there was else, meaning in addition. So produce your white paper by all means, but what else can you do with it? If it's a white paper, it's never going to be anything else to start with. But what else might it contain? Or what could it be turned into? Who else might like it? Where else are they? Yeah. Some people call this idea of recycling and reformatting material 4-dimensional marketing. I like it. It gives you the idea of a cube that can be turned around and has multiple sides. So you use the content in different ways. There's a guy called Gareth Case who writes a blog called Insider Marketing Mind. That's a useful article in terms of how you might recycle your content. The link is in the presentation deck, which I will share with you afterwards. So the 4 dimensions that he talks about are content, the vertical market you're talking to, the job function, and the media that you use. And I think if you take that forward into recycle dimensions, we start to look at the content itself as the original generic content that you produce in whatever format it happens to be. The vertical market that you're talking to, you can change the content very quickly, very easily to suit a specific vertical market and go again. The job functions, most businesses are talking at multiple levels, even if it's only in one area, even if it's the C-suite, there's half a dozen job titles in there. And if you adjust your content to suit the audience specifically, you'll get more engagement from it. That job function then is about tone, okay? How you change the tone of an existing piece of content. And then the media, the channel that you use, where you place that content. It might start as a white paper. It can become something else very easily if you reformat it. So if those are the variables, what we're looking at from a content recycling perspective is what I would call the content factorial. It's been a while since I've done factorial, so I did check this. But a factorial is, given any whole number, the factorial can be found by multiplying all the whole numbers together from the given down to 1. Okay, so if we have the original content, the vertical market, the function, and the media, we could assume that we have one piece of original content that might be relevant to, say, 5 vertical markets across industry sectors, and let's say the C-suite of 5 different job functions. It could be middle or lower management, whatever you like, but let's allow 5 different job functions using 5 different media platforms. Your website, blogging platform, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. There you go, there's 5. Okay? So 1 plus 5 plus 5 equals 16. So 16 factorial then becomes the content recycling opportunity with a nip and a tuck, how you adjust that original one piece of content, 16 factorial. Yeah? Can anyone tell me what 16 factorial is? Nobody? Anyone want to have a go? All right. It's a lot, right? Thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Millions? Billions? No one's got a clue. 21 trillion from one piece of content is the opportunity in the example I just gave you, should you choose to do it. For every one piece of content you produce, you could happily recycle it 21 trillion times. You probably won't do that because, why would you? But you absolutely could and should make a start if you want to alleviate the pressure in the marketing department and deliver added value content. Okay, so let's have a look at that. There's your white paper. Take any piece of original content. Let's say you edit it and turn it into 3 blogs. In a 5,000 word paper, there's probably 3 blogs in there. That may lead to a series of 5 market-specific emails, taking bits of that white paper and turning it into an email campaign. By no means impossible. Then maybe produce an executive summary for the board. Okay, that's a PDF that gets sent out to the board, and maybe the research as part of the white paper is presented instead of research in a white paper as infographics. They're very popular at the moment. Maybe we could get 3 infographics out of that white paper in terms of recycling the data for social distribution. And then we'll satisfy the propeller heads and the geeks by producing some data sheets as well. Okay? Then perhaps we can encourage Sir to produce a video of the highlights from the white paper, and we have video content. Same stuff, coming from the same place, but in a different format. And we can create a sales PowerPoint presentation, which would probably be created anyway, but we can use that and make sure it appears. The important part is we post it on SlideShare and share it with the rest of the world. There's probably a press release or two, whether it's online or traditional, doesn't matter, but press releases of the findings from the white paper are released. Okay, and then everyone tweets the bollocks off it. Okay, so we spread it through some digital channels, some social channels. Okay, and things start happening at that point. So whatever the original content is, it can happily spawn a multi-channel integrated content orgy. Or something like that. Okay, you can decide your own level of comfort at that stage. But producing those recycled assets is searchable, it's sociable, it's shareable, visible, distributable, consumable, accessible, notable, marketable, valuable, and measurable. Probably a lot of other IBBL words as well. And all of that came from one itsy-bitsy piece of content, a white paper. Fine, does it work? Is there any real value in this? Because that's the question that everyone gets worried at. I thought the best way of demonstrating that was what I've been doing over the last few months. So some of you, I hope, will have attended the B2B Marketing Conference in October, and you may recall the presentation I gave called Turdy Brown Trousers. If you haven't seen it, it's available online as a shared asset that you can enjoy. The important part is, at the time, I started off my presentation by taking a photo of the audience and tweeting it to the rest of the world. I was more interested in the people outside the room than the people inside the room. There is the photo. I took it and tweeted it. It seemed like a good idea at the time. It was a good idea at the time. And it received more views than the entire conference delegation in the 5 minutes that I tweeted it. Okay? And the network started spreading it. I actually gave up counting how many people looked at that photo after it topped 3,000. Okay, so that gives you a clue of how far it spread. But I did recycle the photo and put it in a blog post, which also spread further into the network. Okay? The blog was widely circulated by me and the people that I'm connected to online. And that led to another recycling opportunity because it brought my audience closer to my brand, and they were asking if there was a video of the presentation. Luckily, there was. So I released the YouTube video, same presentation, same piece of content, but it had been videoed so I could distribute it. And that was spread within the network as well. One hour after the movie had been released, for example, 30 people had looked at it. It's not a lot, but these things grow. And to give it some kind of context in that early stage, if I can give one of those presentations a day, to have 30 in an hour is a month's worth of presentations in an hour by recycling that piece of content. 1 week after the slides were recycled on SlideShare, 707 people had viewed the slide deck. I'd already produced it, I just made it available on SlideShare, and another 700 people were engaging with my brand. So that's over 2 years worth of presentations in a week. Okay, currently, that slide deck's still available for you to go and have a look at, and 5,000 people have looked at it from a piece of content that I'd produced anyway for the conference. And it's still going to climb. And in a classic recycling move, someone else picked up that content and turned it into their content on their blog. So I'm getting further coverage that way. So that's a presentation I was giving anyway, and it's become this worldwide phenomenon. More or less. But let's have a look at it in a bit more detail. The reach. The original content, the original presentation I gave to 150 people at the B2B conference. The recycled content, the photo was seen by over 3,000 people, the blog post, 6,000 people, the YouTube video, 300 people, the SlideShare, 5,000 people, and the social sharing, I can't even count how many times it's been used on Twitter and Facebook and so on. So, original content, recycled content. That's why you should do it. It is a big deal. It's an even bigger deal if you use it as part of an evolving strategy. So I've shown you a one-off, but it is perhaps worth showing that I planned it as opposed to bumped into it. So I've been working that model pretty much for the last 6 months to see what would happen. So we talked about, this is a slide share I'm showing you here. So we talked about 5,000 slide shares for the Turdy Brown trousers presentation, but every presentation I've given month on month, I've done the same thing. So another 4,000 the following month, and the month after that, and so on. Okay, so this is a program of events now. November, December, January, March, April, and this one will be on there as well. So recycling activity in the last 6 months. 1.3 million of my slides have been viewed. 614 hours of my video content have been broadcast. 21.6 million of my words have been that I've written have been read. And the social amplification, I can't even track it. I know it's loud. And all of that points to one thing: my brand. All from a recycling strategy. So content takes time, money, and effort to create, and everyone has the platforms, but few people have the content to support the platforms. So that makes content valuable. Okay? It makes sense that you make the best use of it. So maximizing the value is, you have to maximize the value of that investment. Recycling the content across different platforms in different ways is quick, cheap, easy, and it maximizes. So the harsh reality, to end at the beginning, is that no one's really sitting waiting for your next tweet. So it's okay to repeat some of your valuable content. People catch the wave. They may not be listening the first time. Tell them again. Just like you used to do with any other campaign activity. Advertising campaigns, if you produced a press ad, you would run it for months. If you produce content, find ways of repurposing it and running it again. It's also okay to take the same content, and as long as you tailor it to the various platforms, to repeat it in that way. And just for the record, this deck also contains 14% recycled material. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take your questions, or by all means come and speak to me afterwards. Thank you very much.